Got a review on the channel today. Another Win&Win product. This one is the 27-inch ATF-DX. Finally showed up. I've teased it a little bit in the YouTube shorts, but I'm going to unbox it today and set it up for Barebow, because why wouldn't you be setting up this beautiful bow as a Barebow? And I'm very excited to get it together and let you know what I think and feel about this ATF-DX for a Barebow riser in the 27-inch version. So I have unboxed this, I've looked at it, I know what color it is, and those of you that watch my YouTube shorts that I put up from time to time, not very often, you've already seen the color as well. It's in heat blue, and like I said, I'm going to be setting it up as a Barebow. I'm probably going to build a field Barebow setup because that's what I would like to play with, because I think it'd be a lot of fun to shoot some more fields events. So in the package, obviously, is the riser with a riser sleeve. And a whole bunch of other little things here, like a towel. They're always the nice long towels, which are great. Some sort of clear protectors for the riser itself. I never use those. A luggage tag, an owner's manual. I guess there's a lot of things this year that they have here. So let's see. Owner's manual. Wheel-Whiz owner's manual. Instructions about the dampeners and instructions about the rest plate, which is printed on a sticker, which is really weird. I don't know why. Maybe they ran out of paper and just wanted to print it on a sticker, but they did. So it talks about the rest plate, because you can adjust the height of the rest itself. So it tells you probably... it just tells you the different settings, which is the factory setting, which is position 1, which is the lowest, and then you can jack it up higher and higher. And of course, the owner's manual, which is, standard. Standard good info, telling you how to do basic adjustments, tiller, alignment, things like that. And the toolkit, some different stuff. Oh yeah, that's right. We got these extra pieces for the ILF inserts that reduce some noise. The differences in plates for the heights of the rests, and then some inserts to change the weight of the dampeners, which is, it's nice because then you can change the balance of the bow ever so slightly. Clicker plate extension, Allen wrenches, and a screw for a clicker. But seeing how I'm setting this up for Barebow, we will not be doing that. So, this blue is blue. It is very, very blue. It's not what I asked for. I didn't ask for a color. I just tell them to send me whatever they think. This is a very blue, It says that it's heat blue. I don't know if I'd call it a heat blue. On camera here, it looks a lot brighter than in person. In person, it's like a very royal blue. But on camera, this looks very bright. I don't know why. I guess it's an awesome camera. Thanks again to Ryan, by the way, for that. But yeah, it looks just like the 25-inch version, but in 27. It's got these deals here in the ILF area where it receives a dovetail. It's made out of what looks like Delrin, so it seats in there and probably reduces noise and overall things like that. At least that's what I believe the point of it is. Definitely one of the better grips that comes stock on a bow. Nice and flat, fairly low. Probably pretty Barebow friendly. Still no filler in the corner for the the spot in your hand. I wish bow companies would do that out of the box, out of the factory, but they just don't. Now, as far as finish is concerned and everything, it all looks pretty decent. I don't see any problems. Everything looks pretty even. The edges are nice and rounded. The finish on it, I really like the matte style, because it's like shot peened or blasted or something like that, maybe tumbled, and then they anodize them, so it's got this like little bit of a texturized finish to it that's not super shiny. I don't see any like real issues of machining or quality issues. There's some marks down inside there. Right down there. So I'm going to start setting this thing up for Barebow. First thing I'm going to do is swap grips. I got an Archery grip I'll put on it and get this thing aligned with some of the Wood MXT-XP limbs here. I did a test of wood versus foam limbs, and when I shot these MXT-XPs, I wanted to do it with these limbs because they were brand new. I hadn't shot them very much. And it ended up being basically no difference at all between the wood and the foam, at least for the test that I did. I didn't change extreme temperature ranges and test them and compare them, which I will do. And it's also not with cheap limbs. They're high end. So maybe it's different in lower end limbs, and I'll do that test as well with those and see how it goes. But moral of the story, if you haven't seen that video, I'll have links in the description below and a card at the top up there. But what that showed was essentially it comes down to user preference, or at least in these limbs, in this case it does. And the wood limbs just felt so much better than the foam limbs, and because there was no performance difference, I'm gonna go with the wood limbs for this purpose. So the Archery grip that I'm putting on it is a Barebow grip. I am Barebow through Archery. It is in their new color that they've got, which is called Obsidian Black in glass, which is super slick. And I prefer it for my grip sear technique because there's no lines in it, no 3D printed lines, and there's no grain like it would be in wood. Plus, it's just shiny, basic black, which is just phenomenal. And I got my pyramid there, grip pattern in a diamond shape right where I like it in the pressure point. And hopefully I'll be able to use this really well for grip sear stuff. And hopefully it's just friendly to me. If you're interested in Archery grips, don't forget to use my links in the description below. Those are affiliate links, and that does help this channel out. If you shop at Archery for any of their grips, not just mine, if you use those links, it helps a lot. Plus, if you use code Kaminski, you'll save 10% at checkout. Again, all that info down in the description. So something that I noticed when I pulled the grip off the 25 ATF-DX, which is right there on the bench, that black one, it had holes in the grip, meaning inside the riser, like here, they've got some slots to reduce the overall weight of the bow. And normally I don't see that on Win&Wins. Normally they are solid and filled in, but we've got these heavier dampeners in the bow itself. All right, I'm gonna put this Barebow grip on. Nice and snug. Well, it won't be moving. So now we got a really low risk grip on it, and we're good to go for Barebow purposes. First thing I'll do is throw some limbs on it. I expect the fit to be excellent. Yep, nice and tight. And that is not coming out. That's the top. And the bottom. So, since I'm on the subject of limbs and the fitment on tiller bolts, I definitely need to tease and let you know that the precision tiller bolts for the Win&Win bows are so close to being ready. We'll probably start launching pre-sales here sooner than later. Since the ATF-DX came out, we had to revise our design just slightly to make things work for every Win&Win that's out there, or the vast majority of them that use this current limb bolt. And I'll have those for sale on my website, jkaminski.com, when they are ready. They're not quite ready yet. The Hoyts are ready, though, in case you're interested in those. I noticed that the DX risers, both the Meta-DX and the ATF-DX in 25 and 27 inches, both have stops on the tiller bolts, which is excellent because so many people have been worried about factory settings and where to set the limb bolts, what are the limits and whatnot on Win&Win bows. And it always mentions from factory settings, but it doesn't tell you how to get to that factory setting. They just would, obviously, I guess they would just assume you would know what it was when it came out of the box, but nobody knows and makes notes of exactly how much they've made their adjustments on their tiller bolts. At least I don't. So they now have a stop, so when you screw the tiller bolt all the way in, it hits the riser, and that's your full in limit, and then you're probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 5.5 turns out from that position as far as your limits, which is great. It finally has that as an option and as a feature on the Win&Win bows. I asked them, and I said, hey, with the Meta-DX and the ATF-DX, the limb bolts or tiller bolts do not go to the maximum in position. Meaning, if this was your limb and this was your limb bolt, maximum in is when it's flush and touches. If you go past it, you end up pinching and can break the tiller bolt. and Win&Win saw some issues with that. So they limited the range of down not to just flat and flush, which is 100% in, but just a teeny bit out where there's a little bit of a gap here. So that means that the tiller bolt doesn't go all the way in, but they said it ends up being a little safer for the equipment because then you don't go to the true max in position. You're just a little bit off of that in case there's some variance in the limbs that you're putting into their riser. So, moral of the story is they found longer longevity of the equipment and more safety factor when they didn't go all the way in. So I noticed that, and they said that they did that for a reason, and it was to increase the longevity of their equipment. So just so you know. It took me a while to find a string that was going to work. I ended up finding this blue one here. It's served for a recurve with halo. I don't think this is a power grip. It might be though. And either way, I think it's a little too short because it won't be above my eye for further distances, and that's important in barebow. But I've got one set up. I got the brace height set to 22.5 centimeters, which is just under 9 inches. I set the brace height for the limbs, not for the length of the bow. Long limbs generally need about 22.5 centimeters, and that's where I'm at and why I'm there. Tiller, I'm going to preliminarily, right now it's kind of like recurve. It's about a 1/16 shorter on the bottom, but I am going to grow that and go to about almost a 1/4 inch bigger on the bottom because I string walk pretty dang deep. Now, if you're interested in learning how I tune and set up my bows, I don't have a manual yet for barebow. That'll happen at some point, of course. But I've got this one here. It's called Tuning for Performance. It's how I tune and set up my Olympic-style recurves from out of the box to going comfortable and shooting with it at massive international events like the Olympic Games. Take you through my entire process and leave out no details. I also add no fluff. It's just a really good resource for you to use to learn how to tune and set up your bows. I have links in the description below to my website, jkaminski.com, where you can grab these 6 7/8, 7 1/16. So just shy of a 1/4 inch of negative tiller. I'll break out the stabilizer, put it on for a known straight reference, align the limbs using biter blocks, set my center shot up with a rest and a plunger. I think I'm going to try, I have the Sniper Zextint plunger. I haven't reviewed it yet, so I might as well put it on this bow and get used to using it so I can do a review on that too. I know what you're thinking. Whoa, it's barebow. What are you doing? Trust me, this is how I align every single bow, no matter if it's for barebow or recurve, a known straight stabilizer, and biter blocks. And just what I thought out of the box, a little bit off. Just a little bit. Both of them. The bottom a little bit more than the top. Dead down the center of the stabilizer. So, that's pretty normal though. I always need to adjust bows just a little bit. I think only once or twice ever have I not had to adjust a bow. Dead down the stabilizer, centered on the top, and centered on the bottom. We're done. Easy peasy, just as usual. We will do the center shot. We're just going to use the clicker plate that's on it, and I'm using the Sniper drop away. So yeah, like I said, Sniper, I think it's Sniper. Somebody sent me this to my P.O. box a considerable time ago, so I might as well review this baby, and we'll see how it goes. I'm going to shoot it for a little bit before I do the review, but keep an eye out for that. It's got micro adjust for the tension, and I do believe it has micro adjust for the center shot, so I'm going to have to look at that and see how to make sure that's set up correctly, because it's a pretty cool option. Yeah. It is not meant for somebody like me who way over tightens everything. Ruined it already. Fancy. I'm going to cut it here and figure this out on my own and then check it out in the review. Alright, so I finally have the center shot set with this Sniper Zextint plunger, which is actually very, very sharp looking. It's a good looking plunger. And I got it dialed in you know, as I would want it to be, dead down the center, because these are parallel shaft arrows. I'll play with that as I go through the tuning process, but it's set up and done. I had a few hiccups here or there. As you saw, I had to pause it and figure out what I was doing and then go from there. So I will definitely make note of all of those things I found in the review that I do of it. Some very good things I like and some things that I don't. But that's standard with everything. So I don't have proper knock height, rest height, and all that stuff set up yet because this string is not set for this bow. As you can tell, the knocking points are a mile off to get this knocking point pretty close to where it should be. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to throw some weights on that I've got, that I've been playing around with, and see if they'll work on this bow and clear the limb bolt. They won't. At least this one will not on the bottom. I will put it in the middle though. Just some weights I've been playing around with, if you know what I mean. Keep an eye out. And even just one by the grip is pretty close. It balances actually pretty close to where it should be. There should be like maybe a 50-meter crawl if I had to guess. It holds pretty good as it is, so I might not run as much mass weight on my riser just to see kind of how it works and how I like it. I've been running around 46 ounces of added weight to my Barebows. That was with a 25-inch ATF-X and with the MXT-DX, same weight. All right, well, I've got the preliminary setup done here. I do need to adjust the knocking points ever so slightly, and I definitely will head outside and get this bow tuned up for like a middle range of field archery. The field archery I'm referencing is World Archery Field Archery, which is the real field archery in my opinion, and it is shot from 5 meters to 50 meters with Barebow. So I'm going to set my tune up for, I don't know, 30 meters-ish. Probably 30 meters, because it's kind of a middle range, more towards the long range. I think some people will set it up for a little bit shorter than that, maybe in the mid-20s. But I'm going to do it for 30, just because it's simple and easy. I can stand at 30, use my 30-meter crawl, and tune it up and go from there. So, like I said, I'm going to be using these Maxima Recurve RZs. I don't know what the draw weight is. I don't know any of those things, but I'm excited. I love shooting these arrows. They're great out of a Barebow, and I like shooting a 72-inch bow. It's just a much more comfortable setup, and I still may have maybe just a little bit too much weight on it, and I'll keep dialing it up and down and get it to where I really, really like it. So first impressions, I like it. No surprises. Everything's beautiful on this riser. Maybe some machining marks here or there. The alignment adjusted very, very simple. No surprise. Everything extremely high quality as usual out of the Win&Win factory these days. This is out of China. It's made out of China. Most of the things from Win&Win these days are made out of China. It's just they got a factory in Korea and they got a factory in China. I don't know where the limbs are made in Korea. So the limbs are made in Korea. The risers, at least the MXT-DX and the ATF-DX, are made in China. Okay, so I'm here at 20 yards. I've got some of these Maxima Recurve RZs and 500 spine. And I'm going to start here and get a rough tune-ish, just to make sure my stiff weak's not too far off. And then I'll get back to 30 meters and do my tuning for a 30-meter crawl at 30 meters, just to start with for field archery. I've not really dialed in an actual tune on purpose specifically for field, but I think that's where I'm going to start. And I'm definitely going to have to reserve this string, because on a 20-yard crawl where I'm guessing I'm off the center serving, this serving is not built for Barebow. It was built for a Recurve. Not too bad on the crawl, and pretty close on the impact as well, so that's cool. It's a little loud on the crawl, a little louder than I was expecting to hear, actually. Normally when I set up Barebows, they're quite quiet, so who knows? Maybe I got to dial in a little bit to get the bow happier, and who knows what the actual tune is doing. So I'm going to shoot a few arrows to warm up, and then a bare shaft. Definitely prefer the 72-inch bow for a barebow. Just a little easier on the fingers and the crawls. I haven't refletched yet these arrows, even though they need it. These Wave Pro prototypes that I have on these are very old and have been shot a lot, so they're in desperate need of repair. I'll definitely put some new Wave Pros on them. Alright, I'm going to shoot a bare shaft. This noise is driving me crazy. Quite loud. It's almost like the brace height's off, but it's good. So, definitely, at least at this distance, too low of a knocking point. Now I say this distance because as you change crawls, your knocking point requirement changes dramatically. It is also a little on the weak side, but not so far that I'm worried about it. So, I think I'm going to shoot another bare shaft just to verify, and then get back to 30 because it's not that far off. The bow feels good. I mean, it's stable, it's comfortable. It's 72 inches, so the string's pushing fairly hard into the tip of my nose, and the knock is right there on the tip of my nose at this crawl. I don't really like that, but it is what it is. And, you know, feels fine. It's really lightning fast, jumps hard, and despite the noise and how loud it is, there's basically no vibration in the system after the shot that I could feel. Between the riser dampeners and the weights that I'm using, it's just killing any vibration in the handle at all. So overall, it's nice to shoot so far. Once I get to 30, get a decent crawl, and then go through some different distances, I'll probably play with the tiller some, and that of course will change the knocking point requirements and the tune. But that's kind of normal, and that's barebow, and I believe that's fairly standard from what I can gather and the way I'm thinking about setting up my barebows. Its grip is needing a little bit of a filing off of the peaks on this pyramid. It's really grabbing that hand and doing some exfoliation. So I need to knock down the high spots a bit on this. We'll just hit it with my tab some, maybe that'll help. Kind of smooth it out a little bit. That seems to help. The reason I come back to 30 is it really gives the arrows a good amount of time to tell me what they're actually doing, and so the tune is not false like it can be at 20 yards. Maybe it needs a little bit higher brace height. It just doesn't quite sound right. I'm going to bump the brace height up after this end. Alright, so I hit a considerable amount lower. Alright, shoot a couple bare shafts. Definitely still too low of a knocking point. Alright, so I'm going to move the knocking point up and bump the brace height up ever so slightly. I've got movable knocking points tied on, so it'll help me speed up this process and be able to dial it in much quicker. And I'm going to be sure to keep a bit of a gap so when I string walk, it doesn't pop the arrow off the string and dry fire. Been there, done that, and I would not recommend it. I'm going to go pull them, and we'll do this again and see if it's any closer. Sorry about the lighting. It is the worst time of day with the worst lighting conditions to try to do this. Having it bright behind me and me in the shade, it's pretty much impossible if you don't want to be blinded by the background, so I apologize. Alright, so the limbs are telling me that brace height's a little bit better based on the groove of the limb itself. That one hit my arm guard, but we can't count that one. Maybe it's a little more crisp sounding. The bow still feels really good. There's very little, if any, feedback after the shot, as far as like a negative feedback is concerned. I haven't shot barebow in a while, so whole grip sear thing is not as smooth as I'd like it to be, but I always say that. Oh, it's good. So it seems to be I'm a little bit grouping to the left there. We'll see what the bear shaft says. Closer, I think. Alright, that one wasn't the best shot. It should have went to the right, but it's still a little high, so I'm going to bump the knocking points up a little bit more and try for round 3. I think we're really close, actually, at least for a preliminary tune, to where I could shoot this for a little while and adjust things like the tiller, find out my crawls and see kind of how it feels at the minimum and the maximum and how it shoots, and then that way I can go from there and make adjustments. But I do need to extend the center serving down some because of you know, obviously getting into deep crawls for 5 meters and such. I'll be way off of the center serving, and that'll wear the string very fast and obviously affect release dramatically. My other bows are much quieter barebow wise. This is more typical of most barebow shooters, where it's got that really loud, harsh crack. So I've got to do some experimentation to figure out what it is exactly. Move my crawl the wrong way. If I'm hitting a little low, that's okay. That means I'm using a crawl that's a little bit closer than 30, which I think is a little bit better than right at 30, because I think that's closer to the middle of the range of distances that are shot at World Archery field events. Yeah, so just a smidge low is totally good with me. I'm just looking at grouping, and then we'll look at where the bear shafts hit next to that. Alright, now bear shaft, they are definitely starting to fly much better now. I think it went pretty much right in the group there. It flew really well. Didn't kick left or right or up and down. Maybe a smidge on the stiff side. Not enough to even care, at least for me. I'm not shooting that good, and for it to be that close to the group is great. Hopefully this one will be there too. Yep, right in there too. So, I'm really happy with that tune actually, and I'm going to take you down there and we'll go look at it up close, and I'll talk about this bow and see what I can find out, if anything, as far as the noise is concerned. So the bare shafts ended up landing just a smidge to the stiff side and maybe a teeny tiny amount knock high by the smallest of margins. This is absolutely close enough for me as far as I can almost fit one hand around the bare shafts and the flet shafts all together. I'm about, that far off. So it's about the size of a softball grapefruit or so, the group. Not too bad. That's a great starting point, and I think I'm just going to leave it there because I need to do a fair amount of practicing and shooting with this bow to get it dialed in more. It feels really good. It feels happy in my hands. As far as aiming and stability is concerned, it's definitely not fighting me. I'm not having to fight to keep it up. If anything, it aims a little bit too easy, meaning it may have a little bit too much a negative tiller. So I might want to bump that down ever so slightly because it feels like it's almost wanting to float on me. Now I did take about 10 ounces off of my mass weight of this bow, roughly, if I had to guess. And I just decided that I didn't need so much mass weight, and maybe it would be better for me as far as management and just overall workload to reduce the overall mass weight, because I was shooting an additional 46-ish ounces on the bow, which is a lot, I think. So now I'm, probably in the 30-ounce-ish range, give or take. So it is definitely happy. The bow jumps well. It has very little residual vibration. It's not doing a whole lot of weird things as far as imbalance of limbs is concerned. Not that I felt that with the previous Win&Wins that I've shot. However, it is definitely louder. There is a definite loud, it's pretty harsh as far as that's concerned. I don't have limb savers on the bow. Usually I run limb savers, especially with Barebow, because it really just quiets things down a lot. And I think that would probably help this bow a tremendous amount, and that would probably be the first thing that I would put on this bow. Although I forgot, these limbs are painted on the sides, so I can't tell exactly where that wedge ends. It's definitely somewhere in this area where I can see the taper kind of stops. Usually I use the guide of where that wedge ends to put the limb savers. The string is a standard string that I normally use. It's a 20 strand 652 from BCY. This one's made by 60X. It's something I ordered a long time ago, and it might be a smidge too long. There's maybe a little bit too many twists into it. Could be a contributing factor to the loud noise. I'm not sure why it's louder than I'm accustomed to, but it's probably the limb savers if I had to guess. So I'll have to put those on and revisit to see if it changed the sound a lot. Overall, the bow feels very stable at full draw, and this is a very snappy setup. It's got wood limbs, and usually I feel like wood kind of removes a bit of that snappiness, but for whatever reason, it is very, very punchy. It drives that arrow hard, and there's not much in the way of residual vibration. As far as feedback is concerned, there's a lot that goes on with a Barebow anyway, so I don't feel as much direct feedback as far as that's concerned, and usually I'm the problem, and I can obviously make a determination that it is my fault that caused the arrow to not go in the middle anyhow. So that's generally not something that I'm needing help with as far as Barebow is concerned, as far as feedback from the bow telling me that something went wrong, because I'm just not that good with Barebow, not to the level I would want to be at least. But I mean, I'm happy with the build. The fit and finish again is phenomenal from Win&Win, and it is a sharp looking setup. I wish the heat blue was a little more heat, I guess, because the pictures online, they had it nice and bright, and this is definitely more of a royal finish. And overall, I'm very happy with shooting these few arrows out here today with control and doing it well, and not making mistakes. Taking a note out of Joel Turner's book, of refusing to shoot anything but a good shot. Just not giving myself that opportunity to anticipate the sear or, you know, allow my level of anxiety to raise because of the finger moving on the grip. But I like it. I like it a lot, and I can't wait to play with this setup some more because it's enjoyable to shoot so far. These limbs are snappy. Hopefully I'll get the noise level down a little bit, because that is something that's like a pet peeve of mine as far as barebows are concerned. Just harsh. And I think some limb savers will do this thing wonders. If you like videos like this, consider subscribing and hitting the notification bell down below. Consider sharing this video as well. All of those things genuinely help this channel out. And if you wouldn't mind, consider supporting this channel. There's many different links down in the description below and many ways you can help support this channel. Thank you very much for watching, and I'm very excited to get back to some reviews. Like I said, this Sniper Sextant Plunger is next on the list.